Deontay's back from the night shift, and we're covering The Crow tonight on Fundamentals. So this ought to be interesting to hear our two viewpoints, and it's gonna be probably very interesting to see what comments we end up getting of the people who watch this. It's very controversial, left and right side of the fence arguments I've been hearing on the internet and all over about this. But before we get started talking about The Crow tonight, I want to sit there and talk about subscribing to our channel. A lot of you that watch us every week haven't subscribed to our channel, so what are you doing? Hit subscribe right now so you can get notified every time we upload something. Like literally, like we have probably 10 times as many returning viewers as we do subscribers. And I think it's people just it's returning watchers and they just keep forgetting to hit that subscribe button.
Man.
Subscribe button and you won't miss out. But yeah, so tonight we got a special episode. And we're going to cover The Crow. So there's the
Woo.
artwork right there, the movie poster of Bill Skarsgård as Eric. And Deontay, I'll let you kind of kick it off if you don't mind. Kind of give us a quick rundown of the storyline.
Yep. So any of you guys is not familiar with like the movies from back in the day. This is a reboot of the 1994 adaptation of the Crow comics that was written by James O'Barr, and the story follows along with a young couple, Eric Draven, who's a member of a band, and Shelley Webster. Shelley Webster, that's her last name, and they're engaged to get married. But tragedy strikes, and both Shelley and Eric die in the most horrific way possible. The villains of the story both rape and murder Shelley and then kill Eric Draven. Eric Draven gets resurrected by crows with some sort of supernatural power, and then he comes back, and there's like one or two nights of him just going on a straight killing spree, getting his payback so he can finally rest in peace.
Hmm.
Brandon Lee played Eric Draven in the 1994 movie, and now we have Bill Skarsgård playing Eric Draven in the 2024 movie. What is that, like 30? That's like a 30-year
Yeah.
gap
That's
since then.
literally a 30-year gap, exactly.
It's like, damn, man. And we have FKA Twigs playing Shelly, so the casting choices wasn't awful.
Right.
Uh, a lot of things that us comic fans are looking for is just looking for the basics. Like we know Eric and Shelley are going to die at some point because that's just how the crow works. We know Eric is going to be resurrected by crows to get revenge, and that's
Mhm.
that's really the recipe for a crow movie. Doesn't matter who it is. If you use Eric, you got to have Shelley, or if you use somebody else, just make sure they get payback when they're resurrected.
Yeah, so I guess, like, from what we gathered, they made some changes in this one,
Yeah.
which we kinda get to I kinda get to a certain point. So, like, as you knowing the lore of The Crow, and you've watched The Crow, more than once, from back in the day, so I'm the complete opposite. I knew nothing going into this from the comics, so right before I went in to go see The Crow, watched the one from 1994, and immediately when it was off within an hour, I went and watched that. And so that way I had a side by side comparison from an outsider looking in, I guess, because
Yeah.
you can't call me a fan really, since I had no education on the topic. So I think I'm looking at it from a different perspective than what some people are. But then also, like, we get a lot more storytelling though in, like, the characters of this, a lot more lines.
Yeah.
Uh they obviously changed the story up some. I mean, Shelley really was what some people compare just a silhouette in the original movie with no speaking lines, no story behind her, and we actually got a more in-depth story of how they met, how they came, to fall in love with each other. Uh, but let me kind of hear your viewpoint on this, what you got out of it, what you liked, what you didn't like.
I want to say one of the good ideas that the director, I believe, is Rupert Jones. I could be wrong. I know his first name is Rupert, but I cannot remember his last name.
Uh,
One of his good ideas was we're going to explore Eric and Shelley's relationship. So Shelley has a lot more lines in this movie. You get to see their bonding, and it feels natural, like a couple was supposed to be. And I guess compared to the '94 movie, you get to see Shelley and Eric Boinks. So that movie for a reason. I mean, '94 movie, you see like nudity and all kinds of crazy shit. You know,
Yeah.
fix. And you definitely don't see Eric and Shelley. You get hints to it, but
Right.
this movie said we're going to go all the way out. We're going to show Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs boinking on a couch. Like, all right, that's an upgrade from the '90s movie. But not it's not obviously exclusively about them boinking. It's
Right.
You're building a bond and working their way up to like an engagement, and it just never came, it just never happened. So that was a huge like a huge U-turn from what the comics in the '94 movie was about, because they got
Mm.
engaged. The author wrote the story in general because he lost his wife in a tragic accident. That was his way of grieving.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, so he already like Rupert already killed the spirit of what James O'Barr was trying to do. I don't know if James signed off on this movie or produced it,
Right.
but hats
Hmm.
off to him if he did green light this major change to the story. Shelley was a great. Um, she had great lines, so it wasn't just like an awful script.
Right.
And Eric kind of had chemistry with her too, so I loved their chemistry on screen.
Yeah, I did
Uh,
too, actually.
it's a huge plus for me.
Yeah. Um, I don't know, like, so some things that I was like, I kind of did my research on like some of the comic stuff, kind of got people's opinions back and forth on it, that were fans, ones that weren't, mainly ones that were. And so like I know one of the complaints was that the art was nothing like the art in this movie was nothing like compared to the comic novel. Like that they said that it was just like too bright, too clean. Uh, so I know that was a big complaint with it, which honestly, like, I mean, if you don't know, if you're just an outsider coming in and watching the movie, I didn't think it was bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It's kind of what I have on the whole thing of the movie. Like my whole opinion of the movie is it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. Will I ever watch it again? No. Was it as bad as I expected myself to go into it? It wasn't as well. So from what I've heard though, a lot of people like who are like diehard comic fans, uh, they actually I heard that this movie is closer to the comic line, has more relatable things from the comic line than the 1994 movie. And I heard that like the people who are dead set on crapping on this movie, and this is just opinions, but that are dead crapping on this movie is actually just huge fans of the original movie and not actually true fans of the comic lore, because this actually had more lore from the comics than the original. What's your opinion on that?
Man, and I guess in regards to me and like a couple other guys I know, it
Uh-huh.
might not. We might have dodged that because it's just like this could be truer to the comics in a sense, but there's no connections to anything. Like we got
Right.
less screen time with the crows themselves, so we see the
Yeah.
crow fly alongside Eric, and then we see like their main limbo area where they hang out at and do
Mm.
all the supernatural stuff that they do. But I think the '94 movie has this beat because of the amount of crow interaction that we got. Because it's just like you're gonna name the movie Crow, you need to see the crow
Yeah.
on multiple occasions. Like Eric
Well,
should be able to see through their eyes and all kinds of stuff. So
that's what I was actually about to say. Like, I don't know if this was comic or not, but one thing I did like from the original that I wish we would have seen in the new was like the perception through the crow's eye, and knowing like he was able to see through that crow's eye in different scenes like they did on the original movie. I thought that was a really cool take on that. That I thought we would have seen that in this new movie, but we never did.
we did not. He uses it to track down his victims. So it's just like how in the world does he even find them? There's a lot of
Mhm.
inconsistencies and lots of plot holes that you have to ask about. Like how did he do this and why is it so hard for him to heal now, but in the '94 movie it took him mere seconds to get a
Yeah.
bullet out of his body. So it's
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say about this, like from comparing, just like I said, once again, me not being a fan, but just comparing them side by side, I do like how there was way more acting and speaking lines between the two characters and development of the relationship and how they got it. It allows me as a moviegoer to invest, be more invested in the relationship, invest more why he's so dead set on vengeance, or like the reason they went different with the reason, like why she got killed this time. It wasn't just a whole bunch of assholes, coming in and being anarchists. It was actually, she had a video of a murder on her phone. So like to me, I don't know, just from a movie standpoint wise, it gave more depth and it allowed me to invest and get more invested in these characters than what the original did for me as a moviegoer. Without knowing, anything else. And like I'm not even gonna lie, like the original one for me, and like I don't like it's a shame. It's an awful tragedy what happened to Brandon Lee. Like that nobody. I don't wish that on nobody. But like I was not impressed with his acting. Like I'll be honest with you, the main star for me of that whole movie was Ernie Hudson. Like
Yeah,
Ernie Hudson, dude, straight. He stood to me. He outstood everybody in that whole movie on his acting, the way he delivered his lines, just the way he carried himself. Like very very well seasoned, like very well seasoned. And
yeah,
like
he's Officer Albrecht.
yeah, yeah. And then we get Michael Wincott in there as Top Dollar, which I read also that Top Dollar is just like a very minor character from the comics, but they made him the main villain in the 94 one. But what was kind of funny, I immediately got Three Musketeer vibes because that's what I know. That's what I know him mainly from is the villain underneath Tim Curry and the Three Musketeers wearing the patch. And what was hilarious was like his shirt, his sword, everything. It legit made me think they're like, hey, let's go pull him out of the Three Musketeers and put his character right here in the Crow.
Oh my god,
And like
man!
I was just waiting for Oliver Platt or Chris O'Donnell or somebody to bust through the doors and help sword fight or something with the Crow.
Just like
But
they took that fight to the roof.
oh man, like for real. And like I know it's an early 90s movie, so I have to take that in, to perspection. But like I don't know, man. And like I don't know a whole lot about Brandon Lee as in like his acting career and anything like that. Was this his first movie really acting in, or had he acted in any more movies before this? Before that?
Um, I'm not too sure. Brandon Lee, he seems very, very familiar. His largest role and his final role was
Yeah,
definitely The Crow.
right. I
Um,
didn't know it was one of those things where like I'm not trying to crap on the guy by no means. I just the acting was a little out there for me, and like obviously his dad obviously is very well known and very famous for his movies and stuff, but I don't know. It just I don't know. I wasn't crazy. Like I was hoping to get a little bit more version of Brandon Lee's Crow in the new one, but with better acting. Like
yeah,
so I love Bill Skarsgård, but like I don't know his whole not his development, but his whole the artistry of him being Eric in the Crow or whatever. I mean, it was okay. It would have been okay if I had never seen the first one. Let me just say that.
yeah.
But like I expect a little bit bigger guy. I didn't expect a tatted up guy with the shirt off half the time because the other guy didn't either. But
Yeah.
I guess sex sells in Hollywood.
It's like he got in shape just for this role. He's about to go lose it again for Pennywise.
Right.
Like
uh,
Pennywise ain't that jacked.
One thing I did like about the new one though that I was reading and like so you kind of had the version from the comics the Skull Cowboy, the guy that kind of helps guide him along, the guy that was like the in between place with the
Hmm.
crows. So like I really liked his character and I liked how he helped him and came back to him, went back to him, whatever. And so that's actually from the original comics, and they actually cast him to be in the 1994 Crow, and they filmed it and everything, and they completely cut him out, like just completely cut that all out. So I was like, I didn't understand why they did that because I don't know. It once again, it gave a little bit more in depth of us understanding what was going on and how he came back and why and everything. And so like I really liked the added depth of the story for them adding that in. And it was kind of neat to hear that that was from the original comics as well.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the ideas that they stuck by. I wish they would have kind of like revealed his name a little bit more, and
Yeah.
then reiterated just a little bit more that your mission is to get revenge, because that's what Eric Draven struggled with in the comics. Is like when he didn't want to go in on a killing spree, like his powers start to fade, and he's damn near about to go back to the afterlife.
Mm.
But Skull, I think it's Skull. What it's faded my memory, but he basically says, "Yo, you are here to kill these people,
Right.
and that's the only way you can pass on." And so Eric Draven, he has a weakness. In 1994 movie, his weakness was basically what was it? Oh, shoot the crow, and then he loses his powers. But
Oh,
that's not comic accurate. The crow is
yeah.
supernaturally powerful and immortal, so you'll never
Mhm.
be able to kill the crow.
Right.
Uh, so that was already one mistake that was made in '94. And then the weakness Eric Draven had in this reboot was to not love your girl, which is the very core of Eric Draven. Like you made that his weakness, so he has to hate Shelley to
Right.
be immortal. It was a little bit off. It was a little bit off
Yeah.
and
I
not
I can
really the
see
best
this.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah. One thing I did like though on the twist of that, like I can see where that makes 0 sense, especially when that's the core of that character. But what I do like how, like, literally, he's truly we find out though the way they did take a little bit further on the take with, the deal he made with him was like my soul for hers. That to me, like when that snapped and like he made that deal, that to me immediately is like, okay, I like where this is going better than the original, only because like, dude, that's the ultimate love sacrifice right there. Knowing that
yeah,
you're going to give your soul for the woman you love, so your soul's damned to hell just so she can live. Like it don't get much more real than that. And so like I that was another thing that added more depth to me that I was like, all right, it's different than what the other one was, but I was like, that works. But previous to where he made that deal, I thought that was kinda weak.
yeah. It's like he was already an immortal dude with like an insane healing factor,
Right.
and he didn't get the insane healing factor until after the deal, which is weird because it's just like he just had it from the start, and that
Mhm.
wasn't a change that was necessary. So I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
how is a dead person going to die twice? That was,
Yeah.
I,
And, like,
I,
I guess, like, the only other thing would be I have to say that I liked a little bit better was, in the original one, he was pretty much just fighting some thugs, some anarchist thugs, and he's a supernatural being now. I mean, he can heal. I mean, he's supernatural. I mean,
yeah,
so really fighting and killing some thugs isn't nothing. And Top Dollar, once again, like we talked about, was a minor character that made him as that main villain. But they brought in Ernie, or not, not Ernie, Danny Houston in this new one as like a true evil person who's been like doing some bad stuff. So we get a supernatural character against some true evil. Like I thought I liked that twist on that. Now tell me if I'm wrong. Is Danny Houston like that's nobody from the comics, right? They just made up this guy.
yeah. He wasn't an original character. His power wasn't an original villain power either. So it's like
Got you.
you make a deal with the devil with him, but like that was one of the cooler
Mhm.
nuances that they chose to do with this reboot. I like that part about
I did too. Well, it seemed like it was a little bit more even, a little bit more it drew you in because like it's pretty sick seeing him like speaking people's ears and making them do stuff, and then hear that he's been around for centuries because he made a deal with the devil to live forever, and it's like,
yeah.
good God, that's some evil shit right there.
It really is. It's
But
just like you chose Eric Draven, so we kind of expected like the old wrecking crew that killed him and his girl, and we
yeah,
didn't get none of that from this rogues gallery. We just got a brand new villain, which would have made sense if you would have used a brand new Crow Resurrection. So you
mm,
got characters like Mark Lung, Michael Corby, Iris Shaw, Joshua Zane, and all you could have used any of these crows, and you chose Eric Draven's story specifically.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
yeah. You said the other Crow movies you told me to stay away from, right? He's like, just don't.
yeah, especially City of Angels. It's a whew,
Really?
yeah. It's like the second movie too.
Goodness. What was your opinion on what do you think about that end fight scene with the swords and everybody getting slaughtered? Did you like it? Do you have anything like you like, ah,
I got pumped. That was like the scene in the movie that we were all waiting for.
yeah.
Just me and like three other people, and it's just like everybody else is just like whatever, and I'm in the seat like,
Yeah. I wish we would seen a lot more of that throughout the movie.
hmm
Yeah, for real. So when we did that, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then I'm like, "Well, shit, we're at the end."
yeah, it's just like all the violence is just happening all at once. He's facing
Yeah.
off with like 70 different guards at a freaking at an opera house, and it was like, what? Why is that many armed guards there at the opera house? But okay,
Yeah. Well, it was crazy is like when he made that deal with Soul for Soul finally, it's like then he grew a little bit more bigger and muscular, and then it's like boom, he was ready to fight and kill. And I was like, man, you think you'd be willing to be like that the first time, you know?
for real. It's just like dude was able to take bullets, but he healed so slowly, which was so weird. And
He did
then,
heal slowly. Like, don't
mhm,
get me wrong, CGI looked better than 94 because of the times we're in, but at the same time, I'm like, "Man, that's taking forever to heal." And
yeah,
that when he got what cut on the gut, he had to, like, shove his intestines back in before it would heal, or at least that's the way I took it, was like, it wasn't gonna heal until he shoved that back in, and I was like, "Oh, man, that suck, you get cut up too bad, and you're over here trying to, like, shove it all in so it can heal."
yeah. I was like, that's a little bit ridiculous because that's like Eric Draven ain't supposed to fight like that, and he broke his leg, had to snap the bone back in place so he could walk,
Yeah.
and it was just like, oh,
Huh.
it was a
Yeah.
very gruesome way to give him a healing factor. Made him
For sure.
Deadpool essentially.
Yeah, honestly. We ain't see no baby legs growing back, thankfully, though.
Oh God.
But I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'll never watch it again. But I will say it's not as bad as I expected it to be. But it's not bad. It's not good. If I had to rate it like a out of 10, I would probably give it 5.5, 5 maybe out of 10. Like 5.5 is probably pushing it. Probably 5 out of 10, honestly.
Yeah, I probably give it a 5 out of 10 as well. Like on a report card, that's a solid F for me.
Yeah. If that's F to you, like, if we're gonna do it like a letter grade, like, if I had to give it a letter grade, I give it like a man, like a D plus C minus. That's where I'm gonna give it, and like that's as max. Like I will not budge even no higher from that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I usually will like B minus movies and up. If they're below B minus, I'll watch them again, or if they're above B minus, I'll watch them again. I'm not watching this one again, and I'm never
No.
gonna watch the original again either. I'm probably gonna catch flag for it because I know it's got a huge cult following for real. But I was like, I don't know. I was just trying to grasp it because like I don't know. I've heard of The Crow my whole life, but for some reason I don't know why. There's been no reason. I've just never watched it, and so I don't know. Back in '94 when it came out, I probably would have watched it 2 or 3 years later. I might have
Yeah.
liked it more back then because I was like, "Ooh, first time I got to see nudity." You know, maybe that would have made me like it more. But but now that I'm, 34 years old, I watch both of them. I'm not impressed by neither. I'm really not.
Yeah. It's not like it can compete with like Marvel and DC movies as
Oh,
a superhero film. It's just like,
yeah,
you get like a violent gothic fix just for watching this movie, and that's about it.
yeah, yeah. I definitely think it needs some more violence. Like nobody loves things when they make giant changes and turns from anything. But, like, just from a regular movie goer going in, say you didn't know there was a previous movie, you didn't know about the comics, it could definitely use a lot more violence and a little bit more changes to things that made sense just for that character alone, even if it had no comic lore or background lore. And so, like, if you could
Man.
say that about a movie without knowing anything about the past, it's not the best.
Yeah, it could have taken a little bit more effort, man. Just a little
Right.
bit. Like this reboot would have been a whole lot better off as a TV show because it's like that's how they treated the movie anyway.
Mm,
Uh, we all saw that. Well, for everybody that's seen the reboot, the opening is basically a nod to Daredevil's opening theme. He's like you see like the red puddles and stuff and floating around like an art
It did have that
sculpture.
feel.
Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
why did you just make it a TV show?
No kidding.
He had the opening theme right there, which never happens in movies, but y'all decided to put one in the movie anyway. It's like, geez, man.
I hope they don't continue trying to make a sequel or anything.
Yeah, I'm good on that. Unless you get like a director that's truly a fan of The Crow, like just leave the series alone.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's all I got for tonight. You good?
Yeah, that's all.
wasn't very energetic on this, but the movie wasn't that great. So
It's not.
but all right, we'll catch everybody later.